All right. It's been an eventful, I guess, 6, 7 weeks since I was last up here. I think that the first thing I want to do is, commend the Oklahoma City Thunder in the series that we played against them with some very high-level basketball. And I think that they've put together a heck of a squad. Clay, Sam, Mark run a heck of an organization. So they're going to be a force to be reckoned with both now and in the future for sure. Since I was last up here, like I said, a lot has transpired. Very proud of the group and the way they came together over the last 6 weeks or so. I think that there was perhaps some confusion and some doubt around the decision making, and especially the timing of it, which I completely understand. But I am very proud of the way the group came together in some very difficult circumstances. And I am proud to say I thought we squeezed a little more out of the season than the direction that we were headed 6 weeks ago. But when you have the roster that we have, anything outside of a championship is, not acceptable. And we're going to get to work on addressing the issues that we think that we're facing as a squad, as a team, as an organization. I think that some of those, the issues that we're facing need to be examined very, very carefully, thought through very, very extensively. But I also think some of them don't need to be overthought. It's a very difficult balance that I've kind of come to in my own mind, which says, don't overthink it, but don't underthink it. And so there are certain aspects that I don't want to overthink, but there are certain aspects of upcoming decisions that I want to think through very carefully, take my time with. And I'd be extremely naive if I didn't solicit some outside opinion. But one of the things that I am very comfortable with, and hopefully our fan base has seen, was how the players came together and really rallied around our coaches and our coaching staff. And so we're going to be moving forward with David Adelman as our head coach, moving forward for next season and beyond. I think that the way the group really rallied around him, and not only a different voice but a different style of communication, was fantastic to see. And so we're really excited about him, both what he's shown over the last 6 weeks, and then having a full summer, a full training camp, and a full year to get things under his belt before we go back at it again this time next year. Like I said, on the front office stuff, I want to take my time a little bit more. Ben Tenzer's done an unbelievable job over the last 6 weeks getting things reorganized to a place, along with the rest of our staff. But Ben's been with us for a very long time. I want to solicit his opinion. Tommy Balchitis is in our front office. I want to solicit his opinion because these guys have seen the ups and downs through thick and thin over the last 10 plus years. And then I'm also going to be soliciting some outside opinion. So there's going to be an extensive process from a front office standpoint. But a lot of our roster is locked in from a contractual standpoint. Right now, we don't have a pick in the draft, but we're going to be very active in exploring how we can improve around that, as well as free agency. So it's all systems go. And that all being said, I'll open it up to questions.
Josh, understanding that you do have to make those hires still in terms of basketball operations, Nikola said after Game 7, basically pointed out that the remaining teams are deeper, playing longer rotations. I would say that the sort of stylistic optionality OKC had was a pretty big factor in that series, in addition to the fresh bodies that they had. Do you feel sort of any urgency to explore the trade market, even with sort of the higher salary players that you guys have, or do you sort of believe that you guys can get meaningfully deeper using sort of the limited mechanisms available in player development?
That's a great question, multifaceted, and I hope I don't dumb down the answer too much, but I'll say there's an urgency to improve the team and the organization everywhere, whether that's via trade, via draft. Right now, I think that having a cohesive organization from coaching staff to front office is our main goal. I think that first of all, I heard Jokic's comments loud and clear. I think that I was thinking that before those words came out of his mouth, just in how the playoffs have. If you're watching the games, you can see yourself, as well as watching our games, you can see where we leaned on a lot of guys for a lot of minutes in big time moments, and that has a cumulative effect that when you're playing 7-game series, that can wear you down. But to talk about Jokic's his statement, and then to look around the NBA, our roster, a lot of it was put together under different rules, and we have extended guys, under this current CBA has tweaks to the new rules, especially at the top, kind of top end in the tax bracket with your first and second aprons, which I know created a lot of dialogue around KCP last summer. But I think that what I see around the league is a lot of successful teams that have developed their benches. I don't think that teams are able to go out, especially competitive teams that are making a push in the playoffs. The rules don't allow certain exceptions to exist anymore in the same way they did previously for you to go out and get a veteran player and kind of a plug-and-play bench-type player. I think those opportunities do exist if you're smart and can find value where others might not see it. But I also think that they're, whether it's Oklahoma City, you look at some of the guys on the Pacers roster, these guys have been developed over a period of years. They understand their roles, they understand their responsibilities, and they're accountable to that. And those are the teams that I see having a lot of success. So there's a lot of ways to improve it, and we're going to be looking at all of them.
Josh, two unrelated questions here. First, I think that one of the central questions is how close do you feel the team is? That informs directions here. You went to 7 games with a 68-win team, but it took 7 in the first round and only 50 wins in the regular season. So how close do you feel the team is? And then two, in your last press conference, you mentioned how you should have been more involved earlier in things that happened. How do you see your involvement changing going forward? Is it different? Is it in all aspects or specific aspects you feel your role will be in this next iteration?
Okay, those are two distinctly different questions and both very long, so I may have to have you come back to the second one. But I'll start with the first one. How close do we think we were? That's a great question, and one that I've asked myself about 10 different ways, in every way I can think of. We took the Oklahoma City Thunder, who is playing some of the best basketball in the league, if not the best right now, to 7 games, which, is great. We took a great team to 7 games. That series could have been 4-0 the other way. That series could have been 4-1 us. I don't think we lost Game 7 during Game 7. I thought we lost Game 7 during Games 4 and 5. These series are very fragile things, and they come down to little moments in time and, certain actions over the course of a few minute span in games. And so while I think we were close in some ways, I don't think it would have been I don't think it was a 4-0 sweep for Oklahoma City, and I don't think it was a 4-1, and that's where the series wound up. So to answer your question, we're close, but I don't want to be naive in thinking of how close we are, but I don't want to underestimate how close we were either. Thinking back to the first round, we're an Aaron Gordon tip dunk away from perhaps coming back here down 3-1. And then what does that series look like? Do we even have the opportunity to go out and try and chase a team as great as the Thunder? So there's lots of ways to kind of weigh how close we are. But I think that as a group, we feel confident that we can go toe-to-toe with a lot of teams around the league. And now we're going to get to work seeing about how we can go toe-to-toe and then overtake them. What was your second question?
Your role.
My role. I think, as I said when I was up here last time 6 weeks ago, I think I need to be very hands-on in periods of transition. And then you have to, I'm not saying let go of the rope, but you have to allow people to do their jobs. And so if I'm critiquing myself kind of as I was recently, I needed to be much more hands-on in periods of transition, especially a couple years ago. And I said, the thing that was tough to deal with is, should I have been more hands-on or more hands-off in the transition a couple years ago? Well, we won the championship the first year. We never done that before. So I don't know what the right balance was then. I think actually looking back on, I should have been more hands-on in the wake of the championship. When you shoot for a goal over a 10-year span and then all of a sudden you achieve it, I think the natural reaction for some people is not to let down, but you become more solidified in your own beliefs of how we got there. And that's kind of what occurred over a period of time. was you had some people that were very set in beliefs about how we got to a certain point, and we reached the pinnacle. And then how do you turn that page and find success after that when you have rules changing around you and certain preferences for certain players? And that's where I think I can help come in and provide a larger organizational, I guess, vision of where we are and what I refer to as the 1, the 3, and the 5 is, what are our goals for the next 12 months? What are our goals for the next 3 years? And then how does that fit in a 5-year window to win the whole thing? The Nuggets 1, 3, and the 5 has been thrown out the window for quite some time because we've been in a 1 year, like we're going for it. The first time we started to talk about that around these walls, I think you kind of get smiles and, we're real champion. Are they really going to go for it? But I think our championship window really opened in 2021. And unfortunately, 10 games after we traded for Aaron Gordon and really saw what a championship contender might look like, that was when Jamal got hurt. And so you deal with things, and I deal with the reality that does require a different perspective than, Coach Adelman trying to win the next game, or our GM trying to win the next game, but balance winning the next game with having a competitive roster over the next 12 months to 2 years. And so, I'm not sure if that's an exact answer, Adam, but I need to be more hands-on in the moments of transition while also recognizing when I need to take a step back and allow people to do their jobs. It's a delicate balance, one that actually requires the art of just reading people. And I think that was, I'm not saying it got away from me under our previous, management and coaching staff, but I should have recognized certain human elements that were going on that could affect the group, later on.
Josh, over here on your right. I have kind of two parts of the same question. Joker said last week, or after the last game, that the head coach decision was above his pay grade. But I'm curious, did you even need to ask him, or did you get him to weigh in on his thoughts? And when did you know that David was going to be your choice? When did you come to that conclusion as you went through the search in your mind, I guess, over the last 7 weeks?
Considering what Yoke makes, it's not above his pay grade. I'll tell you that much. Part of the thinking of making a change when we made it was to give David a chance. I've known DA since he arrived here in 2017 or 2018, and he's been on our staff. He's grown with the group, and he understands their tendencies as players. But I think equally as important right now with where we are in our organization cycle is he knows them as people, what makes them tick. And I think, bringing in somebody from the outside, while I was very open-minded to it initially, I saw the cohesiveness of the relationships on the human side. And I think that's a big factor in where we're heading with this group now and getting the most out of them. When did I know he was the guy for the job? I'm not sure there was a sharp moment in time, but, DA has I'm not sure what his exact, maybe he was our associate head coach. I'm not 100% certain, but he's been our lead assistant for a number of years. He's been on the radar for the rest of the league for a number of years as a potential head coach. And, as he stepped into that role, I knew that he was probably more ready than people probably thought. But to say, David went above and beyond where I thought that he would be. I knew he'd be a great communicator and in some of the ways that we needed a different message hitting some of the players in the locker room. But, before and after games, not to generalize too much, but interacting with the media before and after, I appreciated how candid he was in his ability to communicate, because I think, that is a key element of today's world and professional sports in general. And I thought that he's able to thread the needle between challenging people with direct communication while also encouraging them almost at the same time. And accountability was a key message of our last 6 weeks. And for sure, I think that was a key thing that he kept, at the front of his mind as he was trying to, battle some of the best coaching staffs and teams in the league, was just holding guys accountable. And that seems like a simple principle, but stepping into that on the fly was very difficult, and I thought that he did that admirably.
Josh, because of the standard you've created and you won a championship, anytime this team now doesn't win a championship, it's considered that another prime year of Jokic has been wasted. How does that land with you as you're trying to weigh the urgency of winning year to year in that vision?
Absolutely.
And you talked about the bench maybe not being able to get a veteran. How does Coach Adelman figure into that, the draft and development piece, if that's going to be a big part of creating depth that's clearly necessary?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, we're going to get into some of those conversations. The first thing I wanted to do in the wake of losing on Sunday was just give everybody a couple days off and to kind of refresh their minds and their bodies a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I think that, organizationally, DA is going to have a lot of thought in those type of moments, conversations, decisions, and how it plays out. Because, what I say and what I learned from some very smart men a long time ago around professional sports is like, the head coach's job is to win the next game. And, there's organizational context about building towards something greater, but when it really boils down to it, the head coach's job is to win the next game. And that's where it becomes difficult. Balancing the development of a younger player, giving him minutes, letting him play through mistakes, with winning. And that's a very difficult thing that, I think every coach struggles with, and it's something that DA, myself, and our front office are really going to have to put our heads together about, because letting guys play through mistakes is a big part of development, and that doesn't necessarily match up with trying to contend every night. So how do we strike that balance to achieve our maximum ability come mid-April? I think that's the main goal of the organization is how do we strike the balance between developing players, winning games, getting where we need to be come next April to be hitting on all cylinders with a rotation of perhaps 8-9 guys that can really give us minutes and know their roles and hold them accountable in that.
Is it fair when people say they wasted a year of Jokic prime?
I mean, whether it's fair or not, it doesn't matter to me, because if that guy's on your roster, you have a chance to win it, and you should be going for it. And so, we've been saying that for a long time, even before he won his first MVP. But I think now it's unavoidable how good he is. And do I feel any sort of weight, or however you worded that? I feel more weight than anybody, because one, I want to do right by Nikola Jokic, the Hall of Fame basketball player, but Nikola Jokic, the person, is spectacular, as I think most people in this room probably know. And on a personal level, as a group, there's no one that we want to do right by more than that guy. And as long as we're all on the same page, which we are, we're going to keep plugging away together. Yeah.
Josh, is Coach Adelman going to be responsible for assembling his own staff, and might there be some changes with his current staff if that's the case?
Yes. DA is absolutely going to be given, the ability to pick his own staff. One of the reasons why we wanted to make the decision now and move forward with him as our coach was to give him the ability to build the staff that he really wanted. That's on one side of it, and then also to allow direct communication in as short of amount of time as possible for the people that we may not want to keep. I think that going back to one of my things that I said in my opening statements is not to overthink it or underthink it, but I think that we need to reinvent ourselves in a way, but not reinvent the wheel, if that makes sense. So giving DA the opportunity to get some fresh faces, really get the people around him to support him in the areas that he thinks he needs, is going to be vital for our group going forward, for sure.
You mentioned organizational cohesion and alignment. As you look for your next general manager, I'm curious what else you're looking for in that hire, and how or if you feel it's important to get a fresh set of eyes on the state of the organization.
There are a lot of different traits that go into different general managers, presidents of basketball, however you want to refer to them. But it's about finding the right mix. And yeah, I mean, I think, back to my point, it's like I've promoted from within for several cycles now. Am I going to do that again? I'm not 100% sure, but I know we have some very capable people in this organization, and they've made me rethink a few things that I've already been thinking myself, which is great. I don't want an organization where everybody agrees. I want everyone to challenge people, and then when the door opens and we move out, we're all moving in unison. But like I said, I would be naive if I didn't think about soliciting opinions, outside these walls, whether that's from some of my own basketball contacts or hiring a firm that perhaps might be able to, give me a list of some of the brightest upcoming minds in the league. But I got a lot of great relationships around basketball. I'm going to be leaning on them heavily. I've already had a lot of people reaching out. I think that, the way that our players responded over the last, 6-7 weeks or so, really told the world that, the Nuggets job, whether it's coaching or front office, is a really special one, and especially with where we are right now. So, the pressure, back to, the question about the pressure of, a team with Jokic or trying to win the title, we embrace it. 10 years ago, we would have been killing to be in this position. And this was our goal, to be in this position, to be having this type of pressure year in, year out. And so, to be here and finally feel it it's a lot, but it's energizing, and it's right where we want to be.
Josh in the back, way back with the cameras.
Sorry.
What was the conversation like with David when you told him that he was going to get the job, and what was the reaction from players if you told them in person that he was going to be coach?
There was as you start to have these conversations, it's impossible to kind of keep them in house. And as I was walking in, I was alerted that it's kind of starting to break. But we sent out, as I was kind of coming in, I would have preferred to have been able to just talk to you guys about it. But the players are all receiving messages now. Some of them are in town, some of them have already scattered. But I wanted them to have some certainty around this decision as well, so DA can start touching them, because we got a lot of work to do. To your question about how was my conversation with DA, it was great. They're pretty much, I shared a lot of the things that I've already shared with you guys, but on a very personal level, we just kind of laughed about that first morning, because it was such a rough morning for me, the amount of respect I had for Coach Malone and Calvin, and then he and I had to meet in a whole new context that we'd never met before on. And we both kind of looked at each other across the table, and we just kind of smiled and said, well, here we go. And we kind of had another moment like that whenever I just said, look, man, I've thought long and hard about this. I said some of the things that I said with this room about, overthinking and underthinking. But I said, look, man, I was like, there's one thing that I sure as heck I'm not going to overthink. It's the incredible job that you just did with this group. And we had, a good exchange after that I'll keep privately. But DA, in his response, he told me that, he's more than ready for the job. That's for sure.
Hi, Josh. Everyone's excited and hungry for another championship. As you're looking for another GM, what do you say to fans who are concerned that this period has been a period of instability? And what do you say to them who are concerned about this transition and want to see progress? I just stick with us. Hopefully these are the same fans that have been with us for the last, lot longer than just the last few years. So they've been on a lot wilder of a ride than just, bouncing out in the second round. But, from an instability standpoint, that's why I made the decision that I did before the playoffs. I think the real instability would be if I just hid behind the curtain and allowed the plane to continue to go where it was heading. And probably, I think that plane would have landed in the play-in and probably gone right out then. So I made that decision because I thought there was more in that group. And so from a stability standpoint, I feel way more stable right now than I did 6 weeks ago.
Josh, just wanted to get your thoughts. Russell Westbrook had a great year. You've had a bunch of other guys, including Bruce Brown, who's come in for 1 year and had a great year. There's been this kind of divide, I guess, between some guys that will be able to come in and play with Nikola and play for the Nuggets organization and then go on and have success, have great years. Why do you think it has taken some guys in the league a little bit longer to embrace that? And do you think you guys can recruit some more free agents during this offseason with limited resources?
No, I think it's definitely a big part of our pitch, and it has been for a few years. It's not like we broadcast that out, but yeah, in a nutshell, if you're a certain type of player with a certain type of skill set, I think, if you come play next to Jokic, you're going to look pretty good. And that pretty good might result in you getting paid pretty high. And so there have been a few of those. And It's part of our pitch, and it's also going to be part of our pitch to some of our young guys with certain roles as they're growing and developing. Playing next to that guy is a privilege, but we also have wonderful players throughout our roster. And I'm going to be challenging them, as a whole and individually this summer, because we have, from what I saw, the last couple of weeks, those guys should be hungrier than ever, because they should see it right in front of their face how close we can come if we're all moving in unison and playing our game. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if that actually answers your question at all. And if not, please follow up. But yeah, I mean, I think that we're looking at everything right now, and it's exciting for me for sure. Yeah.
Thank you, Josh.
Go ahead.
No, just the idea that I guess that you have such limited resources heading into offseason like this one.
Yeah. No, I think to answer your question maybe a little more pointed, I think a lot of our answers are internal right now. With where we are from a roster standpoint, we have guys locked into contracts. We're going into a coaching transition, and to be frank, that's a huge change. Huge change. I know that we've already had DA as our coach for 6 weeks or so, but he didn't really get a chance to really implement any of his own ideas because of the time frame and then the time crunch with the playoffs fast approaching. So, DA's philosophy, how he might use these guys slightly differently. There's going to be a lot of big changes throughout our organization already. And I think that these players are already going to be excited about, what they experienced the last few weeks and what that might hold for them individually going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.